What's good, everybody? My name is Noor and welcome to my channel. Before we touch any code, let's understand this with a simple idea. Think of a variable is like a label jar. Your name on the jar and then you put something inside it. That's really all a variable is. A name and a value stored inside that name. Now that value can be of different kinds like a data, or we can say in other words in programming language we can call it a data type. So we are going to understand both together, the variables and the data type can hold. So now I'm going to write our very first variable, and for you I'm kind of creating a jar labeled name and I'm putting my name inside it. So let's see. Name is equals to Noor. Okay. So I have created a variable with the type of my name is stored in this. So this is a jar, the name is a jar, and the value stored inside the jar is my name. And now I want to see um, what do I have stored in. For suppose a jar is an opaque and I cannot see inside what's inside. I have put it in the jar. To see what's inside, I'm just writing it down, print and then name. I press shift enter. So now my name Noor is stored in this jar. So moving forward, and we have seen and we have discussed that the value stored in the jar is my name, but I want to know what is the type of that value that is stored inside jar. So it's also very simple. We we write the print command and then we write type and then name. Press shift enter. It is showing the the type is a string. And now I will tell you one thing more is that string is always used in the inverted commas. So whenever you are typing anything like for suppose I'm typing the any string like the street. So I will always type street is via Venezia. So this is a string and the string will always stored in the inverted commas. Now you must be thinking that what string is. So basically string stands for a simple text, or in other words a group of letters, words or sentences wrapped in quotation marks like we did here in the street via Venezia. Now let's create a second variable, and this time the age, I'm storing the number in it. Okay, my age is, let's suppose, 32. Now I want to call it print age, and I also want to print the type of age. Okay, so now the age is printed as 32 and the type is printed as an integer. Now when we are writing integer, we don't need to put inverted commas because it's only for the string, and I've already described what a string really is. So you know the integer means like a whole number that has no decimal point. Now moving forward, and let's look into another data type. I'll type my height. I'm giving my height as 5.9. Again, I'll call it for print height. Sorry, height, and then I'll need to see the type of height. So you can see that's another data type, and here the height equals 5.9. Let's check this type. So this one says class float, A float is a number that has a decimal point in it as opposed to an integer which is always a whole number. And now we are moving to another data type, and like this one is a little different. Let's run this. So I'll type making making a variable, let's suppose is learning is equal to true. I'll call print is learning, and we want to see what type is learning. So that's called a Boolean. Class Boolean. Boolean can ever be one of the two values, like a true or a false. Like think of it like as a yes or no, a switch that's either on or off. We use this a lot when we want to our code to make our decisions, but more on that in future videos. Now that we have seen the main data types like string, integer, float, and boolean, let's talk about the rules for naming a variable. A variable name cannot start with a number, it cannot contain spaces, and it's case sensitive, like I'll tell you. For suppose student space name. This is a wrong example. And also the variable cannot start with a number, and it cannot contain spaces that I told you, and it is also a case sensitive, which means that a student within a small is not equals to the student with a caps. So it's always a case sensitive. We need to understand that variables are always case sensitive. So this is very important and a rule of thumb to learn and to keep in mind that variables are always case sensitive. So I am typing two different variables with two different values stored in it. Now we will call both of them. Print student name with smalls and Ali. And now we'll ask print student name with caps. I'll do it. Student name in caps. Omar. So the caps and the small, you can see that the variable name for us to see is sort of same, but Python is calibrating as different because there is a difference of caps in it. This is a smaller and this is one is in capital letters. So it has printed different names, Ali and Omar. So I want to show you one thing, that I am making declaring one variable there with the name of value, and I am giving it assigning it a value 10, and now we want to print the type of this variable. So it is showing as integer. Again, I'm gonna do the same, but this time what I'm gonna do is instead of 10, I'll make it 10 like this. So for us the value is the same, we can perceive, but for programming language it would be different. It is calibrating this value as a 10 as an integer, class type integer, and here it is calibrating as a string value. And what if we are declaring a variable, we are storing a string value in it, and we are not we are not writing the string value in the inverted commas, so it will be an error. Let's see. Okay, so it has given me an error which is saying that name Noor is not defined. And one last thing before we wrap up, Python also lets you assign separate variables in a single line. We'll see, like x comma y comma z variable is equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3. So for suppose these we have assigned the values 1, 2 and 3 to the variables x, y and z. For suppose if we want to just call the value of z, so it has shown us 3. And now if we want to see the value of all of them, so what we are going to write is print x comma y comma z. So it will show us the value, it will print all the values. So that's a handy shortcut once your codes start having more moving parts. Alright, let's recap. We have covered today a variable is simply a name that holds a value. We looked at 4 core data types: string in for the text, integer for whole numbers, float for decimal numbers, and boolean for true or false. So we have seen and learned that Python figures out data type automatically, and type can even change if you reassign the variable. So we have covered the naming rule, no spaces and can't start with a number, and the variables of course are case sensitive. And finally, errors are not something to be afraid of, they are just Python telling us exactly what to say and how to fix. So that's it about today's video. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, goodbye.